Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Tovia. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a pot roast in your slow cookers. It's quick and easy to throw together, and you won't believe how delicious and fork tender it's going to be. You'll find all the ingredients you need for today's demonstration in the description box as well as throughout the video. Before I begin with today's recipe, I ask that you please don't forget to subscribe and ring the notification bell and select all notifications so that way you'll be notified of my uploads. So I have here a 2.5 pound chuck roast, and I let it sit out until it's room temperature. Now there isn't any really specific measurements, we're just seasoning to taste. So I'm going to season both sides with oregano, kosher salt, black pepper, and this is coarsely ground black pepper, onion powder. I love onion powder. I use lots of it. Garlic powder and dried thyme. Now I always go easy on the thyme because thyme is very pungent. So I'm just going to press the seasonings into the meat, and then I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to season the opposite side the same exact way. Now after seasoning both sides of your chuck roast, place it into a large gallon Ziploc bag, or you can place it into a really large container. After placing the roast into your bag, I'm going to use A1 steak sauce. You can use any type of sauce you really desire, but I'm going to use A1 steak sauce. So I'm going to just pour half of this bottle of A1 over this chuck roast. So now I'm going to seal the bag, try to press out some of that air, and I'm going to move the roast around to make sure all that has been coated with the steak sauce. So now I'm going to let this marinate for at least 6 hours or longer. And then we're going to pull it out and let it sit at room temperature for 1 hour before we put it in our slow cooker. So my roast sat in the marinade for 24 hours in the refrigerator. So now I'm going to begin in the bottom of my slow cooker. I'm going to put my slow cooker on saute. If your slow cooker doesn't have a saute function, you just need to do all this on the stove beforehand. So I'm going to add 2 pieces of thick apple smoked bacon, and or applewood bacon, and I'm going to just saute this a bit to render some of the fat from this. So I have some of the fat that's coming out from the bacon. So I have here red bell pepper, the onions that I've just thinly have sliced here. I just use a mixture of red and green peppers. So I'm just going to cook all this together for a little bit. So I'm going to let this go for about 10 minutes. So our peppers and onions has cooked for about 10 minutes. You know, I stirred it every so often. So they're beginning to caramelize. So I'm just scraping the bottom here. So I'm going to toss in now a couple of teaspoons of minced garlic. Just going to cook that for a few seconds. Now I'm going to pour in, that's a 15-ounce can of beef stock and a 10-ounce can of beef gravy. I'm going to mix the two together. I'm going to throw in a couple of dry bay leaves. And I have here about 2 pounds of potatoes that I just sliced up. And I'm not sliced up. 2 pounds of potatoes that I peeled. I'm going to throw over some carrots and celery. And finally, the beef that we marinated. pull that out of the bag here, and we're going to place it on top. This definitely has soaked up all that seasonings, I can definitely tell. So now I'm just going to place my lid on here, and I'm using the Simpot by Symphonia. And I'm just using a glass lid from one of my pressure cookers. If your particular pressure cooker doesn't have a glass lid, just put the lid on and leave it in the open position, the steaming position, and you can still use it as a slow cooker. So I'm gonna put the lid on. So on my Simpot here, I'm gonna hit the cancel button because we were in saute mode, and I'm gonna turn the selection to slow cook. And I'm gonna put my slow cook on high, and then I'm gonna set the time for 5.5 hours. And turn it on. So you want to cook this for about 5 to 8 hours. If you're doing it on low, I would suggest about 8 hours on low. But we're gonna do it on high, so I'm doing it for about 5.5 hours to 6 hours. Do not open your slow cooker during this time at all. You don't want to lose any heat. So we'll be back in 5.5 hours. So I'll let my hot roast go for a total of 6.5 hours instead of 5.5 hours. And as you can see, it's falling apart. So it's pretty tender. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the plate so you guys can get a better view of it. I'm also going to skim this fat off the top as well. So here's our beautiful pot roast, and I just put some in a serving platter here. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you aren't subscribed. That way you can be notified of my uploads. So the roast is extremely tender. The potatoes are done. The carrots are tender. So I'm just going to put this little sample on here. So that's a good view of the roast here. Let me just move this. So you see it's extremely fork tender. Potatoes are tender. Very tender. Full flavor. Not too salty. Of course, if you want to add more salt, you can definitely add more salt in the end. But I'm not a huge fan of salt. But this is absolutely delicious. This is so easy to throw together, and it's perfect for the winter time. Do you have it? Please hit the thumbs up, share this video, add it to your playlist, and leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching and supporting, and please have a safe and happy holiday.